Right, let's just stop this program for a second and come back to our main program. What I want to do is put that site back to what it was. So we've got our original site. Okay, when we are in the try block, there is a try to do something. If it errors, we end up with an exception which is caught. But when the try block finishes, so after this return, we can sort of go back and tidy things up, close things up. Now, what I'm talking about is when we've got a connection here, we set it to null, and then we opened the connection here. What I would really like to do is close that connection. If I don't, I may have a problem later on if I've got another program or another part of my program trying to talk to something. It might not do it because we've already got sort of a connection open, and it might say, oh, we have to crash because we can't have two connections open. So I'd like to tidy up my program at the end of it. And if I use a block called finally, now this is a standard keyword that you'll probably find in Python and other languages as well. What it's doing is, after the try block's finished, it comes down to here to give you the chance to tidy up all of your code. Or if there's an exception that is not caught, then we can see if we can catch it in the finally block. So this is just a tidy up section. And the thing that I want to do is actually close this connection. So I'm going to check first of all if it was open, because I mean we might have tried something, we may have failed at this point before we'd actually connected, and we find ourselves in the finally block, but it would never have opened the connection. So we don't want to be trying to close something that is already closed. So I'm going to check to see, first of all, if the connection is open. And I can do that just by typing if connection is not equal to null. Okay. So if it was set to be null here and it crashed before a connection was actually set to it, it will still be null. So if the connection is not equal to null, then let's just put in our code. What I want to do is close the connection, and it's just a simple line, a connection, dot, and we can see it right there, disconnect. And that closes our connection for us. We want to be doing the same thing with the buffered reader as well, the reader. That was set to null, and if nothing happens, we want to handle that and close that down. So after this if statement, what I'm going to do is, because it's an input-output item, I'm going to sort of wrap this in a try-catch clause. So let's see what happens first. I'm going to type in if the reader, better if I spelled it correctly, if the reader is not equal to null, so if there was something set on it and then we had an error, then I want to perform the reader dot, and in this instance we need the close to tidy up. And we are getting an error message, and I think I mentioned earlier that we need a try and catch block because this is an input-output item. So if I hover over it, it says we've got an unhandled exception. Go over to the red light bulb, and if I just allowed it to surround it with try and catch, there we go. That's the job done. We don't need to do any more code. Again, if you can't use that automation, you have to type this in. One more thing that I'm going to put in is I'm going to copy that log message. It's always useful when you're building to include log messages throughout your code so that you can see what's going on. When you're happy that your program works perfectly, then take them out. We don't really need them in. So I'm going to paste them in just for completion sake, and put a little message in there. Problems with closing the reader. It might not be able to close it because it may already be closed. Whatever problem that we've got with that is going to be picked up here. That now is the completed program as far as I'm concerned. We've managed to read data. We've also managed to sort of tidy up after us when we finished our programming. What we need to do now is really be able to pass data to the PHP file as either a get or a post, so that we can dictate what sort of JSON we want back. So maybe just all the Smiths that are in the database, or anybody of a particular age. So we're passing data to it and receiving JSON back. And also a bit later on we need to be able to handle what that JSON is and make decisions based on it, just as we did in Python.